I'm always on the lookout for cool new displays for the game room, like these wonderful light up signs or the Pi to DMD display up here, which the camera never does justice. Well, my latest addition is this, an exciting new device from Divoom, who kindly sent this over for review after I reached out. I saw this online and was instantly intrigued. I've reviewed a few of Divoom's products in the past, including the Pixu Max, which is on my shelving here. Whenever I get a new one, I generally sell off the old one, as they're normally upgraded versions of the previous one. In fact, their products didn't seem to change much after the Pixu Max, so I kept that until I saw this. This is Divoom's latest device, called the Times Frame, and it's quite the departure from their previous models. Prior models like the Pixu Max, which I have here, are solely pixel displays. I believe this one is 64 by 64, and here it's displaying an image of Purple Tentacle I made using the app. The Times Frame does a lot more. On the back of the box it states that it has an HD floating screen with cyber lighting effects, ooh fancy, can store 64 gig of photos and videos, pixel art creation and online gallery, and a load of other tools. First impressions, the packaging is really sturdy and well made. Opening it up, inside we have the device itself, which I'll put aside for the moment, a user manual, a screen cleaning cloth, and this will come in handy as the screen is a fingerprint magnet, and a USB-C cable. The cable is quite short at about 75 centimeters or 30 inches, so I'll probably look at replacing that with a longer one. Now this is the device itself. It is in essence a fancy digital frame, but as you'll see, the floating screen, as they call it, is quite cool, and paired with the Divoom app, this thing is a really cool game room display piece. This is an IPS HD screen, and it's slightly transparent, so if you wave your hand behind it, then you'll see it faintly through the screen. Really cool futuristic, almost steampunk aesthetic they've gone for here, and I really like it. The frame is about 26 centimeters tall and 16.5 centimeters wide. It's deeper at the bottom, so the depth there is about 5.5 centimeters, just over 4 centimeters at the top. On the front is the Times Frame logo and a nice embossed inset Divoom logo. It's made of plastic but feels pretty decent quality regardless, and isn't light as you might expect. On one side you have an RGB lighting display, which is sort of a pipe design. On the other side you have a handle at the top, which I assume is just for appearances. Under that there's a speaker which can play alert sounds, alarms, and even play sound from your videos. At the bottom are the device's only controls. 2 dials, the small one adjusts various lighting settings, and the larger one, the mode button, navigates the menu. Both dials are also buttons which can be pressed in. The operation is really smooth and they feel really nice to use, although they do feel plasticky. At this price point I would expect to see metal on the outside of these dials. Between the 2 dials you'll see a small hole. This is the microphone, which you can use for the visual effects and so on, which I'll show you. Below that we have a settings button and a back button. To power the device, plug it in at the back corner here. Once you plug it in, the frame powers on automatically. As far as I'm aware, there is no power button, which is weird because I'm sure I read somewhere that this has an eternal battery. So without a power button, I've only been able to use this when plugged in. Not an issue for me at all. All these displays in my game room are USB powered and plugged into a hub hidden behind the shelving, so I'll just do the same for this, but just so you're aware. To set up the Times Frame you can consult the manual. It's very brief, having only 2 pages in English. When the device turns on, you're instructed to connect it to your Wi-Fi using the Divoom app. You can download this from the store. I already had the app as I own another Divoom device, but I did need to update the app because the Times Frame is a new product. On the app you can switch between Bluetooth connections used for things like the Pixu Max and Wi-Fi for the Times Frame, etc. Switch to Wi-Fi and the app finds the Times Frame, then you just input your credentials and that's it, it's connected. Now while you can control this device using the dials I showed you on the side, it's really all about using the app and its many functions. I'm going to show you some of the functions available, but very quickly because I want to get to the reason I wanted this, for displaying images, GIFs and pixel art, and I assume most people watching my channel would want to see that too. So one of the main features of the Times Frame is the clock display, and there are loads of clocks available. There are loads of different ones available at the moment, but I'm sure this will grow as users create and upload them, much like the Divoom pixel art community has grown. This sci-fi clock I particularly like as it fits the vibe of the frame itself quite well, and you can see around the edge you have all different widgets which you can customise, which I'll get to shortly. You can also use it to display various things like stocks and shares, sports scores and timetables, your YouTube channel's performance. In fact, you can link any of your socials and it will display stats. Here's a live display of the performance of my Making of Monkey Island video. You can set up a decibel meter which monitors the microphone. This can also be tied into the RGB display on the side of the device. There are a ton of other features too. You can keep score of a friendly game, link your Google on Microsoft calendars, all sorts. I'll quickly show you the dials in action too. Pressing settings opens up a settings menu. You then navigate it using the large mode dial and button. Using this dial without pressing settings navigates through the menu, such as the available clocks. Turning the smaller lighting dial adjusts the screen brightness. Push the button and you get a lighting menu which allows you to not only adjust the screen brightness but also the ambient brightness of the display, i.e. the rear lighting, and the RGB lighting on the side. You can change that between various solid display colours and mixtures of colours, or have it set to react to sound. Adding images is easy, just add the images from your phone camera and they're transferred in seconds. You can then create specific albums. Here are some random images from my phone I uploaded. I also created an album called Box Art with some Monkey Island images in, and I uploaded some GIFs. GIFs are what I really want to get into displaying with this frame, as I think pixel art GIFs look amazing. But unlike previous Divoom devices, the Times frame will display any HD image, whereas its predecessors were limited to pixel art. If you're a film buff, you could display movie posters or film clips on this to incorporate into your display. I can still display the pixel art images and GIFs I downloaded or created previously on the Divoom app, but they will of course not fill the display being square unless I use a specific layout which I'll loop back to later. And the app still has all the cool pixel art functionality like a community hub, and allows you to draw your own pixel art and animations or create them from images, as I did with the purple tentacle image. Any GIFs I upload to this I make sure I crop to fit the screen. Here's one by pixel art legend Mark Ferrari which looks brilliant on the frame. Once you've made folders for your images, you can have them displaying on a loop or as a sort of collage of images. My aim for actual day-to-day use of the Times frame is to create a folder of good pixel art GIFs and other gaming GIFs, have them resized to the display, then have them running on a loop, much like my Pi to DMD does. The images that came already installed on the device are hit and miss. The really good ones are the ones that make use of the promised floating screen. These images and GIFs create a 3D effect that give the images a really cool sense of depth and make good use of the device's lighting effects. Hopefully they release more of this sort of thing in the future on the app, as they really show off the frame's best qualities. Once you've got to grips with all these functions, you can consider creating custom clocks for your display. Here I've created a simple clock, and you can see on the app here there are various widgets you can add to the 5 different sections on the screen. At the bottom we have weather, a notepad reminder at the top left, the clock top right, and in the middle I've chosen to display Mark's pixel art GIF and my YouTube channel's stats. This is live, so as my stats change the display will update. The GIF can be one GIF, a looping album or images, whatever I want. This is a good way to use those old Divoom pixel art images and GIFs, as being square they can fit nicely into a clock's layout. Here's one I created from images available on Divoom's pixel art community, featuring a couple of Sega games, a LucasArts intro and a spinning N64 logo. All square images but fit this clock layout nicely. The Times frame isn't cheap, currently about 150 quid on their website, link below, but I see there is a 10% offer on at the moment. As I said, a lot of the features of this thing don't really appeal to me, but as an HD display for my game room to display pixel art GIFs and so on, it's amazing, and I'll look forward to getting it loaded up with cool images. Thanks to Divoom for sending it over, and thank you for watching.